The W&M Washington Center integrates academics and experiential learning to produce high-impact opportunities for all. For 20 years, we've facilitated meaningful connections and provided a place of belonging for the entire William and Mary community. As we celebrate William and Mary in Washington, we'll be bringing you monthly videos that celebrate the center's rich history and consider its future. Our first video in the series features the center's first ever director, Susan Wayland, as she is interviewed by our Vice Provost, Anne Marie Stock. Both women were essential to founding the vision of the Washington Center.
Okay, here we go. I'm wondering if there's a place at William and Mary that has really drawn you in, one of those places where when you're on campus, you want to check in there if you can, you want to go there because it holds special meaning for you perhaps from the time that you were a student.
Well, for me, and probably for a lot of students, it would have to be the sunken garden. You know, I spent so many wonderful hours there studying and chatting with my friends and just looking at the beauty that was surrounding me. I was very, very interested in environmental issues back when I was a student. And we had rivers catching on fire because they were so polluted with oil slicks on top of them. And so I was graduating at about the time that the Environmental Protection Agency was formed, which was in 1970. I left William and Mary with the idea that I was going to do something to make the environment better for future generations.
Susan, what was the original vision for the Washington Center, and what was your roadmap for moving forward?
Well, let me first say that the vision for the Washington Center originated in Williamsburg, not with me. And that vision was to provide exciting opportunities for students, faculty, and alumni that were only possible from a base in Washington. But even more than that, it would be a platform for William and Mary to spread its wings and engage in national and international level leadership. You ask about a roadmap. Well, there was no roadmap. I used to say that the greatest and most exciting thing about this new job was that I had a blank slate and no roadmap. And the most intimidating thing was, oh my gosh, it's a blank slate and there is no roadmap.
So how did you move from there? You started with nothing. You said a blank slate, no roadmap, and you began to build something that would be valuable for the entire William and Mary community and beyond.
Well, first of all, Tim Sullivan had established a truly amazing committee on campus that was chaired by Mitchell Reese. Mitchell had worked for Colin Powell in Washington in a previous job, and he was very well connected to the whole international scene in Washington. With all of his contacts in Washington, had secured great space for the office in the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace Building. So it was just the perfect place to have this exciting new office. For my challenges, the first challenges were really extremely basic. We had offices without a stick of furniture in them. We did not have any operating telephones, no fax machines, no copying machines. It was really a very naked office that we inherited. So I was used to working in an office of thousands of people, and all of a sudden there I was, all by myself with non-operating telephones. So one of my first tasks was to hire an executive assistant. And I decided to hire a terrific young man. His name was David Carter. And David was a senior at William and Mary at the time. And after David left to attend law school at William and Mary, and by the way, he's a very successful lawyer now in Washington, D.C., I was so fortunate to hire another fantastic alum whose name is Susan Crane. And she was also a really terrific professional. And Susan and David were just joys to work with. Now, another hire I made early on was a summer intern. And she was a student at the at the School of Education. And she called me out of the blue, and I was totally bowled over by her energy and her enthusiasm and her obvious intelligence. And that young woman is Roxanne Adler, who is the current interim director of William & Mary. And she remains a dear friend of mine until this day. Another thing that was helpful to me in getting the office off to a good start was that Tim Sullivan included me in retreats that he had with his senior management team at William & Mary. And so that provided me with the opportunity to share with them what we were doing and what our goals were. This was truly an all-star team. You know, if you were playing in the Olympics, these are the people that you would want with your t-shirt on, because they really were fabulous innovators, thinkers, strategic planners.
Would you be willing to share some milestones, particular accomplishments? I know you're exceedingly humble and generally reluctant to toot your own horn, but it would be great if you'd share some of the things that you're most proud of.
One of the things I'm proudest of is the collegial process that we used to get the office up and running. You know, it was a group of people who worked well together and who supported one another and who were excited about the vision of what could happen in DC. I'm very proud that we developed that initial strategic plan that has stood the test of time, and it was the roadmap for getting from an office with no furniture in it to the bustling, busy, fabulous place it is today. You know, I have a great memory of the ribbon cutting ceremony that we had for the office, and we had the president and a lot of all the dream team come up to help cut the ribbon. And you know, that memory stays in my mind because it was the culmination of a lot of years of work that did not involve me at all. I mean, it was done on campus, and there were a lot of thoughts on campus, but the ribbon cutting was sort of a very symbolic moment that has always stuck in my mind.
Kudos to you. And would you share some thoughts on the Washington Center today?
Oh, well, of course. I'm thrilled with the Washington Center today. I mean, my successor, Adam Anthony, and Roxanne Adler took some of these early ideas and they have made them into reality. You know, we had dreamed about a semester-long program, which is pretty complex. I mean, you got to think about, so where are you going to house them, and how are you going to keep them safe, and how are we going to get the internships that they will need to really learn what they need to learn for the semester. So the staff has expanded, the opportunities have expanded, and the relevance of the center is greater now than it ever was before.
So could you have imagined way back when what the center would become today?
Well, yes, I could imagine what it could have been, but I think it has exceeded all of the expectations of those of us who were the pioneers in trying to make this happen. And William & Mary has dealt a lot with government issues, public policy issues, been in the forefront of a lot of those discussions. And so this was just such a natural outgrowth of what the campus had already been focused on a lot for all of its 300 years, really. And I'm just thinking that the Washington Center was such a perfect next step for the campus to have, to have that immediate and interpersonal actions and reactions with the people who are actually doing the work. You know, it's great to read the books and it's great to have your classroom opportunities, but the next step to me is talking to the people who are slugging it out, who are testifying before Congress, and who are trying to make sense of the policies that are evolving around you. And I just think it's a very valuable add-on to the William & Mary experience that really brings the vibrancy, the complexity, the difficulty in marrying science and policy. It's just a wonderful place in order to bring it all together.